Houck from Cooking by Moonlight, and I'm here today to show you how to make Mexican wedding cakes. And to start, I'm going to put a cup of softened butter into my mixing bowl. Mexican wedding cakes were one of my favorite cookies growing up. They're a really light and delicious cookie with a lot of flavor. They're usually flavored with pecans or another nut, so they've got this really nutty, delicious taste. Sometimes people call them Russian tea cakes. I've heard them both ways. I grew up calling them Mexican wedding cakes though. So to start, we have a cup of softened butter in our mixer, and I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of sugar to that. And put that in, and I'm just going to let those cream until they're all nice and mixed up. You really do want to make sure that the butter and sugar cream, because Mexican wedding cakes actually don't call for any leavening agent, so there's no baking soda or baking powder. There's nothing to make it rise in there. What's going to keep it nice and fluffy and delicious is this butter being creamed properly. So you're going to turn it on and let it blend. It should take about 3 minutes before it's really fluffy. You're going to add the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. It doesn't sound like a lot of ingredients, but this actually makes quite a few cookies, probably about 2 dozen. All right, now that my 2 cups of flour are in there, I'm going to add 1 cup of pecans. I've ground them up a little bit finer in here. You can put them in big chunks if you like it a little crunchier. I just pulsed them in the food processor for about 30 seconds to get them all to be a nice even size. And again, that was about 1 cup of pecans. Next, I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And this just gives it some extra flavor. Sometimes people substitute the pecans for almonds, ground almonds, and then they add an almond extract. And those are actually really good too, if you're an almond fan. And finally, I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. All right, and I'm just going to turn my mixer back on and let this process until it's all nice and mixed up. Should only take a second or 2. All right, after you've let everything mix up, it should be a pretty crumbly dough. So it's not going to look quite like chocolate chip cookie dough that maybe you're used to. See how crumbly this dough is? It's a very fluffy dough. We're actually just going to take it now and roll it into small balls and put it on a cookie sheet. You don't need to press it too much. Just get it into about a ball-sized shape. It should be a little bit smaller than a golf ball. You can make these as big as you want. They just take a little bit longer to cook, and you'll end up with less in the end. But they'll still be just as delicious. So I'm going to make 12 of these and put them on this sheet and 12 more on another sheet. And then we'll bake them in a 350-degree oven for about 8 minutes if you went with golf ball size. If you go with any larger, you'll need to increase the time they bake. And you do want to get them nice and even. If you have one that's a little bit bigger than maybe his friend's, just take a bit off and then reshape him. You want them to be even, or else one is going to be not quite done in the middle, or maybe the other ones will be burned. And after your cookies have been removed from the oven, you want to give them just about a minute or so to cool. You don't want them to cool off completely, because what we're going to do next is roll each cookie in a little bit of powdered sugar. That's what gives it that kind of iconic look where it's all nice and sugary on the outside. If you wait till they're completely cool though, the sugar isn't going to stick. Remember, since they're really hot, I'm going to use a spoon to pick them up here, just the tips of my fingers. I'm just going to kind of spoon sugar on top and roll them around. And those are ready to be served. All I have to do is powdered sugar the rest of them, and then we'll be all done. I'm Liz Houck from Cooking by Moonlight, and this has been How to Make Mexican Wedding Cakes.